Chapter 5, Control Objects. At the end of this chapter, you will know how to use the following control objects: repeating groups, condition text, blank compression, conditional output, includes, and character sizing. Using various control objects, you define how the system selects and outputs data in a report template. Control objects control the selection and output of data. We will review the control objects listed on this slide. Repeating groups, symbol type 11, iterate over data objects stored in the specification database. If a symbol refers to several data records, you can use the repeating group to control which data records are to be output. Using condition text, no symbol type, you can specify that the system does not output the same repeated text in one repeating group in column type output format. Condition texts are used to suppress the repeated output of identical text elements. Blank compression, symbol type 13, is used to define symbols for which values must exist. This is so that the values of other symbols that have been defined or normal word text are output on a report. The inclusion or non-inclusion of data in documents to correspond with legislative requirements is the responsibility of the user. Conditional output, symbol type 15, compares a symbol value with another symbol value or constant value. WWI templates can include other templates, called includes, symbol type 20. Template sections can be reused in other templates, allowing templates to be smaller and better structured. Character sizing, symbol type 100, adapts the font size to the available space within a word frame. You can use the character sizing function to ensure that the system uses the optimum font size inside a word frame. The system adapts the font size to the space available. Let's take a look at repeating groups. The repeating group forms a loop around data objects stored in the specification database. If a symbol refers to several data records, you can use the repeating group to control which data records are to be output. Repeating groups can be nested within each other. In that case, the nestings are checked for errors. The two main repeating group types are the master group and the slave group. The master group reads the characteristic value assignments of a value assignment type in a loop. You therefore always need to specify the key of the value assignment type. A slave group always refers to the data of a property evaluation. To allow the system to allocate the appropriate evaluation method, the subsystem has to be nested within the master group. There are 5 slave group types. Slave group POS, components of a value assignment. This repeating group iterates over all components of a value assignment type of the category composition or listing. The slave group thus needs to nest in a master repeating group. Slave group POSD, components of a value assignment. A component of value assignment type composition or listing may in turn consist of further components. You can expand these up to a specified depth. If you do not specify a depth, the complete hierarchy is expanded. The repeating group needs to nest in a master group. Slave group FREI, user-defined text of a value assignment. You can use this type of repeating group to save and print user-defined text you recorded for the value assignment of a value assignment type. Use the user-defined text or user-defined text type symbol and define a repeating group type S:(FREI) around the symbol. You can use the usage of these slave repeating groups to restrict their selection to the user-defined text type. This type of repeating group must then nest in a master group. Slave group VERW. Usage of a value assignment. You use the symbol for ratings or validity areas to display usages. You then define a repeating group of type S:(VERW) around the symbol. The usage is always assigned to the value assignment of a value assignment type. The slave group thus needs to nest in a master group. Slave group class. Transport classification data. The repeating group iterates over all UN listed substances of a value assignment type of the category transport classification. The slave group thus needs to nest in a master group. Since UN listed substances are assigned to the transport classification depending on regulations, the system only displays the legal data of the listed substance to which these regulations apply. Repeating groups are assigned to tables as following. The master group is assigned to Value Assignments Table ESTVA. Composition or listing slave groups POS and POSD are assigned to Components Table ESTVP. Usage slave group VERW is assigned to Usage Table ESTDU. User-defined text slave group FREI is assigned to User-defined text table ESTDF. And transport classification slave group class is assigned to transport classification table ESTOF. Source reference group Q is assigned to source table ESTDS. Repeating group type G, validity area and language. If you defined discrete validity areas and languages in addition to the global validity area in the generation variant, you can use this type of repeating group to access these validity language combinations. The system determines all combinations in a loop and uses them to determine the correct expansion value of the symbol in the repeating group. You can use this function to expand data that is country specific. You can also specify the following parameters within a repeating group of type G to restrict the output: validity area category or validity area, and language. Data for this is only output if the corresponding validity areas exist in the relevant report generation variant. Repeating group type D, discrete expansion of multiple values. Normally, the system displays multiple value assignments in one line, separated by a comma. This repeating group type always displays values in separated lines and is thus defined directly around the corresponding characteristic that contains the multiple value assignment. Repeating group type Q, sources. Sources are assigned sequential numbers and are appended to the document. You can choose between the following options: an alphabetical list of all sources, or a list according to where the sources are used in the text. Repeating group type P, parameter hierarchy. Using parameter hierarchies, you can define structural dependencies between parameter objects. You can create symbols of the category parameter for parameter objects. You can use a repeating group of the category parameter group to set up the output of multiple value parameter objects within a parameter hierarchy on a report template. So that the parameter values can be read by the system, you must assign a report symbol group to each parameter hierarchy you have defined in the IMG activity specify report symbol groups. The report symbol group is used to assign the following to the hierarchy: a function module for default parameter determination and a report application. Repeating group type user exit. When defining a repeating group, you can specify a user exit name that must be assigned to the corresponding user exit category gen_star. You can use this user exit to filter data that was determined by a repeating group or control whether the selected data is to be sorted in ascending or descending order. If necessary, in both cases you can access a parameter that you can specify in the layout and that is transferred to the user exit. The data records that are determined by repeating groups are only transferred to the user exit after they have been evaluated, thus allowing any range information to be taken into account. Let's take a look at the syntax of a master repeating group. The boundaries of a repeating group are specified by a beginning structure and an ending structure. In the beginning structure, the repeating group is identified by symbol type code 11, followed by characters BRG and a 3-digit serial number. Within parentheses, repeating group type M is specified, followed by the value assignment type and a restriction. The restriction, in this case, star, specifies that the system expands all value assignment records for the value assignment type. In the ending structure, the repeating group is identified by symbol type code 11, followed by characters ERG and the 3-digit serial number. Within the boundaries of the beginning and ending structure of the repeating group, the symbol containing the data to be expanded in the report is specified. Let's take a look at the syntax of blank compression. The boundaries of blank compression are specified by a beginning structure and an ending structure. In the beginning structure, blank compression is identified by symbol type code 13, followed by characters BNG and a 3-digit serial number. Within parentheses, you will find a logical operator and control symbols. Multiple control symbols can be specified. You link these symbols using the AND or logical operator. The ending structure consists of symbol type code 13, followed by characters ENG and the 3-digit serial number. Within the boundaries of blank compression, you will specify the symbols to be expanded in the report. You can use the following identification code to define a data output restriction if not all of the symbol's data records are to be read in a loop. For identification code asterisk, the system selects all data records it finds. For identification code N, the system selects the data record number N. For identification code N-M, the system selects the data records from N to M. For identification code N-**, the system selects all data records starting from number N. You can define nesting structures for repeating groups. The system checks the permitted nesting. The system diagram on this slide illustrates the nesting structures that are valid for repeating groups. You can determine all valid structures by following the arrows. If a repeating group of type G lies within a repeating group of type M, only the language is taken into account. For the validity area also to be taken into account, the type G repeating group must be nested outside the type M repeating group. On this slide, we have an example of a master repeating group for a value assignment type representing a composition or listing. Within the master repeating group, we have a slave group for composition or listing, which provides access to the data available in each component of the composition or listing coming from the master repeating group. For value assignment type, hazardous ingredients. Note that both the master repeating group and slave group have unique identifier numbers, 001 and 002. In this case, for each component, the symbol for the identifier IUPAC name is expanded in the report on a separate line. Let's take a look at conditioned text. Using conditioned text, you can specify that the system does not output the same repeated text in one repeating group in column type output format. We see an example of a master repeating group surrounding a table row containing symbols. When the report is expanded, we see that the first table column contains the same text density in each row. Using conditioned text, we can have the text density only appear in the first column of the first row. To insert conditioned text, while editing the report template in transaction CG42, choose menu path, Edit Condition Text. Word inserts square parentheses around the text section. You define the color of the parentheses in the basic settings. Condition text cannot be inserted to extend over several table cells. Condition text within repeating groups only ever applies to repetitions of the innermost repeating group. Let's take a look at blank compression. Sections between the beginning and the end of the blank compression shall not be output if data for symbols are missing. In this example, if for the value assignment type specified in the repeating group, 3 value assignment records exist, the symbol for density value will be expanded in the report for each value assignment record on a separate line. By default, the master repeating group outputs the data of the value assignment records on one line without a separator. To make the output appear as in the example with each value assignment record on a separate line, the appropriate paragraph marks will need to be included inside the repeating group. When the AND operator asterisk is specified, if no value is found for all control symbols, blank compression is activated. When the OR logical operator plus is specified, if no value is found for at least one control symbol, blank compression is activated. A with alternative structure can be specified with blank compression. This structure is identified by the symbol type code 13 followed by the letters C and G and the 3-digit index number. The with alternative structure is similar to an else statement for blank compression and is inserted as an additional control symbol. Behind this control symbol, you can manually specify the symbol that is to be output as an alternative if blank compression takes effect. On this slide, we see an example of a reporting group which surrounds the symbol for the phrase text, pH, and the symbol for characteristic pH value. When the report is expanded, we see that the symbol for characteristic pH value contains no data. We will want to suppress the printing of the phrase text, pH, when the symbol for characteristic pH value contains no data. This is accomplished by inserting inside the repeating group a blank compression on the control symbol for characteristic pH value. By doing so, if characteristic pH value does not contain data, the blank compression is performed, causing the code inside the blank compression to be bypassed and no output to be created on the report. Adding an alternative to the blank compression allows for the printing of the phrase text "no data available" if the symbol for characteristic pH value contains no data. Let's take a look at conditional output. A conditional output is essentially an if-then-else statement in WWI. Output on the report is determined by which section of the conditional output is executed. Let's take a look at the syntax for a conditional output. The boundaries of a conditional output are specified by a beginning structure and an ending structure. In the beginning structure, the conditional output is identified by the symbol type code 15, followed by characters BIF and a 3-digit serial number. Within parentheses, a logical operator is specified, followed by control symbols and a logical condition. The ending structure is identified by the symbol type code 15, followed by the characters EIF and the index number. Within the condition, symbols to be expanded in the report are specified. Please be aware that some operators like LE, less than or equal to, cannot be used for fields where ranges are allowed. The valid operators for conditional output are as follows: equal, not equal, greater or equal, less or equal, greater than, less than, and compare text. The comparison of ranges is not possible, meaning the symbol and comparison value must not contain a range. When comparing strings, the system does not distinguish between uppercase and lowercase. The system compares user-defined text as normal strings. If a document is specified in a user-defined text, only the document key is compared. When comparing numeric values, the system first converts the value from a characteristic to the base unit of the characteristic and then performs the comparison. The system takes characteristics with multiple values into account only in comparisons of two characteristics, that is, only when a symbol of a characteristic is entered as the comparison value. Only the operators equal to and not equal to are then possible here. If you enter a different operator, or if a comparison of a multi-value characteristic is performed with a predefined value or predefined string, this leads to an error in report generation. When comparing two multiple value characteristics, the system also takes into account the sequence of the value assignments. That is, it compares the first value assignment with the first value assignment, the second with the second, and so on. Only if all value assignments match and if the number of value assignment is the same is the condition fulfilled. If you enter a number of symbols in the condition, these must all have the same expansion time. If you require a conditional output that is dependent on symbols with different expansion times, you have to nest a number of conditional outputs. Let's take a look at includes. Includes allow for the inclusion of a document template into another document template. Let's take a look at the syntax for an include. An include is identified by the symbol type code 20 followed by the word include. Within parentheses, the name of the template is specified, followed by the version number and the document type. Do not use included templates within repeating groups because this has a negative impact on performance. You can include templates over several levels. That is, an included template can also contain included templates. However, you must not allow loops to result. The following is not permitted. Template A contains template B contains template C, and template C contains template A. If you change a template or cancel the release, this can also affect the templates in which the template has been included. To inform you that the affected templates need to be checked again, the system makes the following status changes. If you edit a template, all templates with the status in work, in which the edited template is included directly or indirectly, are given the status for checking. If you cancel the release of a template, all templates with the status in work or released, in which the no longer released template is included directly or indirectly, are given the status for checking. When the system expands an included template during report generation, it uses the Microsoft Word function for inserting files. The possibilities and constraints for this function therefore also apply to the inclusion of document templates. This means if the template into which the template is included has a header and footer, the system does not transfer the header and footer from the included template. If the template into which the template is included does not have a header and footer, the system transfers the header and footer from the included template. The system transfers the styles from the included template to the template. Here, it does not transfer styles that already exist. It replaces these styles in the expanded included template with those from the template into which the template is included. In Microsoft Word, documents cannot be inserted into other documents in certain cases. For example, a document that contains a text box or other drawing objects cannot be inserted in the text boxes, legends, comments, footnotes, and endnotes. In these cases, including document templates is also not possible, and errors occur during report generation. Let's take a look at character sizing. Character sizing adapts the font size to the available space within a word frame. The system adapts the font size to the space available. You can specify a range for the font size, for example 8 to 32. Let's take a look at the syntax of a character sizing structure. A character sizing structure is identified by a symbol type code of 100, a symbol key of DIN text, within parentheses, a minimum font size and a maximum font size are specified. In the example on this slide, the text box will contain R phrases with a minimum font of 8 and a maximum font of 20. To insert a text box while editing a report template in transaction CG42, choose Word menu path, Insert Text Box. Place the cursor in the top left-hand corner of the text box in which you want to define character sizing. Choose menu path, Edit Automatic Character Sizing. The system displays a dialog box in which you enter the minimum font size in points and the maximum font size in points. When using frames instead of text boxes, you must note the following. If you define another frame in the report template directly after a frame with dynamic text sizing, you separate the objects with a paragraph mark. The paragraph mark should not be formatted as hidden. That means each frame must be anchored to a separate paragraph mark. Otherwise, the text size will not adjust correctly.